Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome, how are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. A Filipina with time on her hands, dealing with boredom. Sometimes my titles are from songs. Certain songs remind me of titles, like Lee Greenwood's song, Ring on Her Finger and Time on Her Hands. When I was a country music DJ way back when in South Dakota, that was either a song at the time or real close to it, I believe. And I just thought that was a nice, tricky title. I mean, it made sense. And so, ring on her finger, time on her hands. Point is, a woman is married, especially a Filipina, she needs to be active, because if she's not, the homesickness could really do her in. So how to deal with the boredom part, let's just talk about that a little bit. Your fiancé or wife just flew halfway across the world, and she likely will have a severe case of homesickness. There's nothing that you can do to prevent it. You can't speed up the end of it, but there are some things you can do to help, and that's not really the part of this video. This is just dealing with boredom. It's one aspect, and usefulness is something to focus on to help deal with the boredom. Is usefulness. The last thing you need is for her to be alone with a lot on her mind and missing home. She's been thinking about that all the way up here from her country on those planes and the layovers, and then she gets to the United States and she's missing everybody, and let's say you're gone at work and she's sitting there and she could be thinking, what have I done? I thought this sounded like a good idea, but there's nothing to do here. So what can she do? Number one, helping her find a job probably is the best thing that you can do to keep her from being bored. I helped my wife find a job through a temporary agency. Now she's full-time where I work. In fact, one of the guys coming off of third shift told me, hey, why don't you try contact the temporary agency? The boss here just told me they're looking to hire people, so they'll give preference to someone that is a relative or a friend of somebody here. So I thought, perfect, Eyes wanted to work with me, and I thought, okay, hon, I'll pray for that, but boy, I don't know how that's going to happen. And sure enough, God brings this guy right up my path, and he tells me how it's going to happen. So we did that. Got my wife a job through a temporary agency, and it took a few weeks. You got to get drug tested. You have to do like a math exam and English test and go through those hoops, and it worked out. She was here. She worked temporarily for about 13 months, and she got hired full-time, and I don't think she's been full-time for a year yet, but she's got a couple of raises, and she's doing great. She's working about 50 to 55 hours a week, and she's one of the few that actually likes 12-hour days. They work 12-hour days, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday one week, and then the next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday one week, and the next week Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday. And the rest of the time is off. So they work 7 12-hour days out of 14. She loves it. She's younger, but she can handle it, and she works overtime. She does this to help her family, and that's the main reason that she came to another country to look for a husband, and that's to be able to provide help for her family, and not just her family, but also herself. And so you are a very big help to her that way. And you should, appreciate that she wants to help her family. But if she doesn't work, you'll be the one that will be helping the family. And if you can't afford to do that, certainly she wants a job. If she's been working, she's going to want to work here in your country. So help her find a job, and she won't have time to be bored if she has a full-time job. And she can even think about what she can do with the money. She'll have money for her purses or shoes or clothes and makeup and things like that, and she'll be in seventh heaven. Also, friends. When she's not working, it's nice to have some friends that she can spend time with. This may take a while because she doesn't know anybody, but get her to church, and hopefully, in time she'll meet some women from church that will be able to provide good friendship for her and keep her grounded. I'm, of course, as her husband, very concerned about who influences her. I want her influenced by the right type of people. And, before I even, when I got back from marrying her, before she got here, I started looking around, asking around for anybody that knew some Filipinas or some Philam couples, to find somebody that she could be friends with. And my pastor knew of somebody. I contacted him, just said, hey, here I am, this is my name, I married a Filipina, just like you. She's going to need somebody that could be a good influence on her. I've heard your wife, could be a good influence on my wife. And he, was welcomed us into their household, and they've been over to our place. And this is a woman that lives, oh boy, less than a mile away. My wife can drive there and spend time with her and her family. There's another older Filipina that we know that can be a good influence on her. And then there's a woman about her own age. It's not a Filipina, but she's a woman at church, and Isa likes her. And those three women have been her primary influences. And you want to pray for, because you don't know where they are right away, pray for good influences on your wife so that when she's not at work, she has women that will be a good influence on her, keep her grounded, and make her time here in the United States, if you're in the United States, well worth it. I thought about having her volunteer somewhere, like at a church, but because that is worthwhile. But she wanted to work, and we found her that temporary job so quickly, she hasn't looked back. If you are married, if you marry the main breadwinner, as I said, she's not going to want to just sit home. She's going to want to continue to provide, knowing that she can provide a lot more by working. And Filipinas, Asian women, maybe in particular, they're good workers. Filipinas are good workers. My wife, on another shift she worked the other day, and the supervisor said, hey, would you like to work on my shift? Well, of course he does, because she's a great worker, and she's polite, she's respectful, she's humble, she's hardworking. She wants to do a good job, and they need more people like her. That's what I tell her. So she gets her ego stroked, at work. I try to stroke her ego, of course, here as her husband, and tell her all the ways I love her, all the ways she's amazing to me. And I don't think my wife is bored now, but if when she gets here, you got a task on your hands, she's not going to be happy. If she's been active in the Philippines, working 10, 12 hours a day to help her whole family, maybe extended family, she's not going to want to just sit around and do nothing. Don't make the mistake of thinking she will be fine simply because she is not in the Philippines. Many Filipinas, maybe 75% of them, would like to leave, but just keep this in mind. They want to be useful too, to you and to their family back home. So dealing with boredom, probably the best thing you can do. Help her find a job. So be aware of this now before you bring over your love beyond the sea.